Oh, hey, Kenny.
Holy shit! Where the hell
What are
have
you
you
doing
been?
here? What do you mean? I've been here the whole time.
Just sitting in that place in your apartment in Seattle?
No, no, no. In my
Not
closet in Idaho.
your closet in Idaho. Did you do something wrong, like break the law, so that you ended up in Idaho?
Close.
Yeah,
Close. Yeah.
yeah. It seems like that wouldn't be anyone's choice
Right.
because it's
Um,
Idaho.
hey, how have you been?
Great question. I've also been trapped in this box, but I got some better lighting.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Although it's
Um,
it's clear that it's really well organized now at this point. Oh, we got new things in the podcast. You'll have to
cool
check YouTube
effects.
for cool effects, thanks to Apple.
If you're listening to us and not watching on YouTube, you got to go check that out.
Yeah, boy. I mean, just so many changes. I bet the thumbs up, these friggin' gestures. Oh wait, what are we doing here again? I have
Have
questions.
you have you played the new Prince of Persia game?
The Prince of Persia game. Are we are we gaming still?
Maybe.
Maybe. I have played the new Prince of Persia game
Cool. Want to talk about it?
for like I only got like 20 minutes. Let's not fucking. I'm sure we'll disagree.
I'll take 20 minutes.
Okay, then you have 20 minutes. I suppose we need a theme song too.
We do. You're in charge of that, though.
Okay, hold on. Let's do it now. Chips and bits, but I kind of missed that now that I've heard it for the first time in full.
I was thinking the whole time I was thinking of some joke I could make, and then all I could think of by the time it was over was I really missed that song.
No, it was so weird. I not want to be nostalgic, but that kind of kicked in, and I was like, oh man. Now I
Yeah,
have
it's
to
really
listen
good.
to you talk, which will probably make me less nostalgic.
Hey, you never know. It might make you feel
That's
more nostalgic.
that's true. Welcome back.
We're back.
We're hot dropping this. I mean, if you discover this later, it definitely won't be hop dropped because it'll just be episode. What episode number is this? Do you know, Matt?
99?
Let me check out the old.
98?
The old
I remember we were pretty close to 100.
Chips and Bits site's still up. That's good.
Yeah.
You know what? We don't put episode numbers on these fucking things.
Oh, well, that's my bad.
Who built this piece of shit website?
Well, while you're talking, I can definitely find it.
Yeah. I am so excited to be back. Uh, we took a 2 year hiatus mostly because of me, actually solely because of me. Matt could keep doing this, but I like to keep things fresh, and I went on to do other things like found a comic book store and then leave a comic book store and uh, hang out with my friends and explore video games on my own instead of on deadlines. And it turns out that is nowhere near as fun as sitting in these box rooms podcasting with Matt.
Wow, what a sad reflection on life.
Yeah, I guess turns out the podcast is the podcast we made along the way, as they say. But we are, I mean, podcasts have like pandemic really blown up, and so of course we capitalized on that by stopping for a while,
Right.
as we've been so good at this, and now every celebrity's doing it. But I just want to say we've been doing this since 2011, Matt. We're almost 15 years old in age. And sure, it hasn't always been every year, hasn't always been every month, but it has been a pleasure. And we got six. We're doing 6 episodes this year of games we want to talk about. There's a ton of fucking big games to talk about that have come
Too
out.
many,
There's
arguably.
games Matt and I have played that we wanted to talk about. And yeah, and I think for us, this is a forcing function because otherwise our friendship collapses into nothing. So here we are, the Chips and Bits podcast.
On this episode 97, it turns out.
97!
97.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about, I don't even know what the subtitle is, The new Prince of
It's in
Persia game.
the title of this room that we're
Oh, is
trapped
it?
in.
See, it's been too long.
It's
I,
the
I don't see
Thieves
it.
of Darkness, the
Colon,
Quidditch of
the Lost
Time.
Crown.
Yeah, you
There we
know,
go.
some things never change, and colon and fucking video game names, like,
Colons. We can always count on colons.
yeah,
I'm going to let you start, Kenny. Where do you want to start talking about this game?
this game was okay, man.
All right. All right.
I'm going to tell you why this game was okay. This game had the potential to be like really good. Look, I can look at the camera now, which is sort of upsetting to everyone on YouTube. This game had the potential to be really good, but I'm going to move you up screen so I can actually, so people can see me, or in ear closer so you people listening can hear us better. Um, this game I thought had the potential to be like, it's a Metroidvania Prince of Persia game. It is very much a Metroidvania, and it is very much a Prince of Persia game, and I think it does a really good job of being both. But is not as good as a game like Other M or Hollow Knight, which nobody else will play but me, but I love, and even other Metroidvanias, because, and it's only one complaint I have about the game, but it is to me debilitating to the fun of the game in some ways. Like, it's the reason it's not a great game, and that's that the fast travel system fucking sucks. Uh, the locations they decided to do and how sparse the fast travel stuff is really makes the tedium amp up in the game when you're trying to do stuff. Um, a lot of different games have different approaches to this that are pretty good, and there are definitely Metroidvanias that are like, I mean, even original Metroid, like, there's not even fast travel systems, so to speak. But to me, this game moves so many different elements of that added so many really cool elements that I think future Metroidvanias will incorporate forward. Uh, that this was just so detrimental for it to just being okay. Like, I just spent so much time in tedium, Matt. Like, go backtracking. Um, that being said, this is like it is a fun game to go through. I just play a lot of Metroidvanias, and I really love Metroidvanias, and this was so I don't know, like I really wanted to love it like 100%, like I did like not Other M. What was the Metroid that came out last year? I
Oh,
loved it.
Dread.
Dread. Dread I loved. Like, Dread felt like a perfect game. It was like near perfect Metroidvania, and the this game I think added some things that really evolved it. Like, was finally like a genre that doesn't evolve much at all. Like, it added some really cool things, and for that I give it credit. But ultimately, I was just running around through the same fucking jumping puzzles all the time, like trying to get shit just to get to a place that I'd unlocked a tree, but didn't have a fucking, you know, the tree is like their save system, but didn't have a bird statue. I don't know, but everything else in this game was so good. But that was enough to make it just okay. The last few hours, maybe like 4 or 5 hours of the game, those were a bummer. Uh,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's
That's crazy.
and you
Although, judging
You
by
100% in it.
how much you loved Ghost of Tsushima based on its fast travel system, I'm not surprised that a
Yeah,
fast travel mechanic could completely tank a game for you.
it really can. I mean, it really, like, if it just doesn't have much for the space, or it's making you repeat challenging jumping puzzles a lot of the times, it did. I mean, they did a good job of like unlocking shortcuts and stuff. Um, but yeah, it just. But let's talk about a few things. First thing, Matt, I think you should talk about the combat and how enjoyable the combat is in the game, because it's pretty elevated for a Metrovania.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you brought up Dread, I mean the most recent game that I've played that came to mind that I can think of that I enjoyed nearly as much of this would be Dread, and I thought that was a pretty amazing game.
Yeah,
And I have very few knocks on it, but if I was going to pick one of them is that the enemies get a little repetitive in Dread,
totally.
um, and that I didn't find that to be the case. Maybe it's just the way they structured the boss fights, or maybe it's just because you only spend so much time in each area with the new bosses before you start actually doing the backtracking, or at least I did.
Yeah,
That it wasn't until I was in pickup mode, rerun mode, that I started encountering the earlier uh, enemies that I hadn't fought in a while. So I thought that was really cool. And then, yeah, the addition of how they blend one of the things that you and I have talked about a couple of times on a couple of different podcasts is with skill trees, there tends to be this common issue where either you very quickly identify a set of skills and powers that you like, and then you just pay no attention to the other skills, and just like, why are these even in the game?
Yeah,
Or there's no forcing function to force you to actually spend time with any of the other skills other than the ones that just get the job done. So you pick your skills and you're like, yep, these are fine, and you play the game with those. And this, I felt, did a really good job of sort of like with the bosses, forcing you to kind of switch from time to time. There'd be a couple of situations where you'd be like, gosh, this boss is difficult.
yeah.
Um, and then you'd be like, well, maybe if I just look at these other special like super skills that they have, that would help. And then you'd switch back and forth from your favorites to the ones that were the most efficient for the boss. So I thought that from the fighting mechanics was a really interesting wrinkle for sure.
Uh, you didn't get to experience this, but I think, this is a bold claim, but I think that the medallion system, which is similar to what this is like you essentially choose your power ups. You configure your power ups. What are they called in the game? Amulets? They're amulets.
Yeah, amulets.
And in Hollow Knight, I think actually made that possible, and it made the bosses similar, where it had like you configure your amulets in a way that would be effective against that particular boss based on like, and that included air combat stuff that we kind of saw in Prince of Persia. I would say, I mean, Hollow Knight's combat is less nuance. I'm going to compare Hollow
More
Knight's
button mashy.
probably either Dread or Hollow Knight is my favorite Metroidvania. Um, uh, yeah, it's not, no, button mashy isn't fair. You have to you have to be pretty more like, it's harder. It's hard like this game actually, and in fact, that's one thing I did appreciate. Their bosses were very challenging. I started this game on hard,
Except for
and I
the
had
one,
to. Uh, which one are you saying?
the king.
Oh
So like
yeah. Well, I didn't actually
you spend
find the boss
hours.
after challenging either. The final
Oh yeah,
boss.
I did. I
I
did.
did. It took me two tries to kill the final boss. That's it. Um,
Wow, really? Yeah,
uh,
took me longer to,
did
to
I
do
tell you I
it.
played Dark Souls? I played Dark Souls, by the way.
Yeah,
It's I played Dark Souls. So,
you do.
Matt, have I told you about our Dark Souls podcast?
No,
Oh,
where?
good, because it's not on the schedule because you won't let me do it. Um, if I told you about our Gran Turismo Dark Souls combo,
Well, from my side of the microphone, it was a pretty good ramp of boss fights, and that
it
each one
was.
sort of in the same way of Sifu, where they all have a neat
Well,
little
that's not a
trick.
game
And
we've podcasted nor talked about.
my apologies, I'm rusty.
Yeah.
Um,
No, you're
they'll add
Matt.
something
That's
in.
not your name. Your name's not Rusty. It's Matt. You're really bad at this.
Wow, you're really rusty. That was a rusty joke right
It
there.
was a really bad joke, Rusty.
Yeah, so they'll add in some new mechanic, and it may or may not be in combination with something you've just learned. So they don't necessarily pair them up with skills. Sometimes it's just they want you to be fighting in the air, or they want you to be doing something different. So the boss has a unique feature,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I thought that was particularly challenging because you had to try something new each time. And then yeah, I don't know how many bosses there were, 8 at least, and then
Yeah.
you get to this one that they've been taught you, like, you didn't even know it would be a boss. But the lore and the story behind this boss has been building the entire game, and
Yeah.
then he comes onto the screen, and I've just like knocked him dead in like 30 seconds. I was like,
He was
whoa,
the easiest boss. He
that
was
can't be a
dead, though,
boss.
to his credit. To his credit,
Spoiler
he was an
alert.
undead version of himself who had been betrayed. I thought the story of the game was pretty good. It
I
wasn't
thought it was decent.
particularly
Yeah,
complex, but um, I really love the like gang of the band of thieves kind of aesthetic where everyone's their own special skill kind of thing. Uh, but what was funny is the minute you see them appear on screen, like, and they all have different weapons and styles, you're like, this is going to play into the mechanics somehow.
yes.
Turns out you're going to fight them, which was actually my brother predicted, and I was like, oh no, you don't fight them. And then the second half of the game happens, and you're like, oh yeah, they're the bosses, and those fights were super challenging.
Yeah,
Um,
most of them were, and actually, like, some of them, it wasn't necessarily like, I kind of alluded to this ramp, but some of them were pretty spiky. I
oh
remember
yeah, super spiky.
who was the bow guy? Menelaus.
Yeah.
I found him
Well,
super
you could
challenging.
do
So
them in
much so that
different
after,
orders. Did you do the bow guy or the boat guy first?
The I think I did the bow guy.
I did the boat guy first, and I found
Okay, yeah, maybe
the
that
bow
would have
guy
helped.
less challenging than the boat guy.
But for whatever reason, I could not learn his patterns, and I could not. It's fun. It was so challenging to me that by the end of the game, I felt very skillful, and some of them were easier, and it was challenging, but I got through it. But I went back after I beat the game, and I was like, I'm going to look up someone else who's not me fighting this boss, just to see like what do they do that I obviously did not do.
That's an
And sure
interesting
enough,
way to
the thing,
shame yourself, Matt.
yeah, so sure enough, they definitely use different skills. Like the skills that
Yeah,
they used a lot of pushback skills, which I didn't think to use with that guy.
yeah,
So both of their special powers, they added the knockback effects. And I was like, I guess that makes sense in hindsight. And instead of trying to dodge, they just jumped over stuff. And I was like, yeah, because I would dodge and get hit, and then he would come and grab me and do lots of damage. It
yeah,
was really annoying. So yeah, there's definitely a way to beat him, and I just couldn't figure it out.
yeah. I pretty much was down to my last health on the boat guy. Pretty much by the time I got him, it was brutal. It's a brutal jump in the second half, and it feels like if you're playing on a harder mode, it doesn't give you like enough power up to. I mean, obviously we did it, but it feels like if you did everything at that point, you should be like more powerful than you are. It jumped up like way too much. Everything that you can do. That being said, I think the combat was actually really great. It was more complex than I would usually use in any given situation. So like, there's a lot of cool things that power players could do, but not me. Um, I really liked the combat, and I thought the story was pretty good. It wasn't perfect. I liked how it played with time. I
Yep.
liked uh, Hey, you'll never guess what I really liked in this game.
The art direction.
Oh, yeah. Like one of the things. This is new to the podcast. New to the podcast. Art direction. I thought some of the stuff they did was spectacular. In particular, one of my favorite things is when you destroy these like little time blarbs in the space, like watching statues reconstruct themselves. It was just delightful animation, and they really captured. Uh, I don't know. It just was a really, it was a really well designed game. It just looked really nice, and it was fun to go places. Um, and some of the structures were particularly compelling. One of my favorites is like there was a sea battle completely frozen in
Oh yeah,
time. That was
yeah.
spectacular.
I was just gonna say
Um,
one of my favorite moments was when you first encounter the frozen sea or whatever.
yeah,
You're jump the platforms then instead of just being brick walls and rocks are
yeah,
these pieces of a broken ship that's in the midst of being wrecked
yeah.
when time has been frozen. So there's like lightning bolts and waves and broken pieces of the mast just like splintered across time, and you're jumping between those. And I was like, where did this come from? I
I
was not
know it
expecting it. It
was
was
so good.
so cool.
It was
Yeah, it was really
so
cool.
good. And it had a lot of tropey places too, like the forest. There's always a forest in a Metroidvania game, and then the swamp. There's always the swamp sewers in this case, I guess, would be the case. Um, there were some really cool little things that you'd run into, and some likable side characters. Nothing really memorable except for the bird, pirate captain, and the bird. But that was all like pretty much one area, and it was delightful. Um, the boss fights usually had a second phase, which was always very
Have
Dark
you played any
Soulsy. Net.
Dark Souls games, Kenny?
Any Dark Souls games? No, no. Sorry, I only do simulation racing simulations and flight simulators. I'm sure you do flight simulators. Um, I really like to be bored during my games, Matt. That's why I like games without really good fast travel and racing simulations.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't know. I don't know why I didn't have I mean, I definitely would say that there were a handful of times where I felt like I didn't go the right way or decided to explore in a way where there wasn't a fast travel point. And sometimes in between, this game is pretty ruthless if you don't have the right amulets and stuff set up where you're learning and it's a new area. And you die a lot, and you got to like retraverse the area if you haven't found your fast travel point yet.
yeah,
And there was a handful of times where I was like, man, this next fast travel point's pretty far away.
yeah.
But I mean, just a handful. Most of the time I would encounter things, it was because I didn't have a skill yet. And so I'd be looking to go back through there anyways because I just couldn't proceed.
At a certain point, to me, that just becomes less about like your skill. Like if you've done it multiple times, it's just kind of like you should be able to like get like not have to redo complex jumping puzzles. Like
I don't know, man.
um,
Did you find the secret treasure room?
Uh, all you mean all the secret treasure rooms?
Like the main one with the jumping puzzle in it that takes like 7 minutes to complete?
Uh, maybe is that the one? Sorry. So there's all in the game. There's a secret treasure mechanism,
Yes.
which is cool. I actually really liked it as a puzzle. Although there was one that was just so I just looked it up. It was just so stupid. I
Which one?
never would have guessed it. Would you have guessed? Which one do you think it was?
Was it the one where you had to line up the throwing thing?
Nope. That one I've gathered right away.
I have no idea which one was it.
There was one. So the way the puzzle mechanism works is there's some clue or indicator in the room, and you have to sort of solve it with the tools that you have. Um, and 99.9% of the time, all you needed was the tools you had in the room. But there was a couple. I guess my math is off there. Sorry, Rusty. I'm still a little off on this. Um, you would like this one puzzle. You'd have to bring a guy like a boss guy
Oh
from
yeah.
the fucking nowhere, teleport
But
him,
it
drop
wasn't
him
from
in, and let
nowhere.
him get smashed by something. I looked that one up on the internet because
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
you
know.
but you'd
No,
passed him. You'd passed that. Hadn't you been on that bridge and passed that dude?
yeah, but like to get to him was like it was involved. He's not near where the puzzle is. He's a
No.
little bit
You have to
away.
remember the bridge, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's just like that was too disconnected.
Interesting.
I don't like for me because eventually I was just in cleanup mode at the end. I was just like, let's go through, um, find all this shit, and this actually brings up one of the best mechanisms they've ever invented.
Oh, I
Uh,
hope your students say the same thing I wanted to bring up.
which is they have an in-game screenshot mode for puzzle areas, so you can mark places that you were not able to access before. So, say like a great example of like an area you wouldn't be able to access is like you need the super missiles to get through doors in Metroid, right? So, like in this game, you can take a screenshot using just holding the down button, and it'll mark it on the map. And it's if it's not included in every single Metroidvania after this. And granted, there are ones that are based on like trying memory and stuff like that,
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
but like a met like it is a going to be a step down in terms of gameplay for me because it solves an obnoxiousness that I don't think is fun in gameplay. Like keeping all the stuff in the game is so wonderful. Um, so yeah, that was uh, that was really good.
I'm really happy you brought it up. I only had one note that I wanted to not forget to talk about.
Yeah,
And that was it. I'm so accustomed to just, Metroid. Part of what comes with a Metroidvania game is some backtracking and a gigantic map. And in most games, you just see locked path or, you
yeah,
know, grayed out part of the map and there's a gap there. So you haven't been that way.
yeah.
But so many times you'll sit down one night and you'll say, I only got 20 minutes. Let me just do a backtracking thing and see what I can find. And you'll spend the whole 20 minutes getting to that spot only to find out you still can't open it because you don't have any idea what was there and why it was locked.
Yeah.
And that this just absolutely nuked that from the game without removing any of the fun or of the backtracking aspects. Second to the
Or the
screenshot
really
mechanic,
fun backtracking aspects.
second to the screenshot entirely, they also just had a really sophisticated marking system
Yeah,
where you could choose a different icon. They were preset. There was only 8 of them, but
yeah,
you could come up with your own legend yourself for what treasure chest or lock meant. And then if it was a locked door or you found you can see a treasure up there, but you don't necessarily want to. You only have a limited amount of screenshots you can take, and then you have to unlock more or cancel the other ones as you retrieve them. So yeah, I just marked everything, and then when I wanted to go and collect something, I was just like, "Where are all the gems or the treasures that I marked?" And I could go
there
grab
was
them
a
all.
stupid thing though. Now I think about it, like I think them limiting the amount of because you can essentially the blocked path this screenshot system had limitations and it could grow
Yeah,
similar
why
to
do
how
you
you
why
could.
do you think they did that?
I don't know why they did that. Maybe they just wanted to create. I don't know. Like again, why can't you just teleport to the fucking trees, Matt? Like explain that to me. It doesn't make much sense. Once you make it to the tree, you've kind of achieved the thing that they want you to achieve. To make you go through and achieve it again, is that really fun gameplay? I don't think so.
I think it's like, I mean, I agree with you, and also then in slight defense, a lot of the placements of the fast travel things have less to do with upgrading and more to do with being able to jump to progress the story. So when you do then get to a point, I think if you're not like us and you kind of like as you go, you take some time every once in a while to do a little bit of exploration. You don't just follow all the missions.
Yeah.
If you do just sort of follow the path that the game lays out for you and then switch into, oh, now I have to go and do all this stuff before the final cannot continue mode, they're actually placed in very good locations. You just have to have found them all already.
Do you know what's interesting about that? There's a fucking tree right next to each one of them. So,
There's not
like,
a tree next to every single one.
there's one that's not. I think there's one in the game that's not.
No, there's a couple. There's a couple.
Either way,
But
yeah.
anyways,
Ghost of
fast travel
Tsushima is
could
an
have been
apt
improved.
thing. Like, I really like. Uh, at a certain point, there's diminishing returns for me, and this one, like the diminished returns, really ruined the last bits of the game for me. The last half, really, because it was just there's just too much jumping through the same shit again and dying again after going through it. Like, and yeah, yeah, I know. I don't know if you know this, but I played Dark Souls, and a lot of that's very similar. But that's like the point of the game, um, is that sort of experience, like the risk reward, and there's no reward really for like going through the same area again and accidentally dying. You know, um,
Well, one of the things I was actually nervous about when I saw this game,
was seeing me
for
again on camera.
yeah, I was like, oh Jesus, Kenny's going to want to talk about this.
Yeah,
Um, no, I mean, again, this kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't know it was even in development, and then I remember somebody texted
me. It
someone
was
on the
me.
text thread was like, check out this demo.
It's always me. It's
Great, it was
rarely
awesome.
anyone else but me.
And I went and checked out the demo, and I was like, yeah, I'll buy it right now. I
Yeah,
can't wait to
which is
play
a
it.
rare Matt thing too.
Absolutely, yeah. It usually takes more than that.
Yeah.
And I was nervous because I felt like maybe to its credit or accidentally, for me, that I felt a lot of pressure on this game because I see a lot of, or I feel like there should be more games like this in existence already.
Uh
It's
huh.
kind of sort of the like I know there are a lot of Metroidvania, but there's always been this thing pretty much since graphics in video games got anything close to realistic, where you feel like everyone just went so all in on photorealism and graphics in video games that there's just missed opportunities sometimes in simpler simpler games that still leverage the power of computers these days, but they don't have to go all the way into realism to do it. And yeah, I felt nervous that they weren't really gonna all the way lean into this being a throwback 2D platformer. And thankfully they did. Like they did. They totally did. You know, the stuff where it was 3D was just cool moments where like you'd launch a super and then it would remind you, hey, this is a 3D engine behind
Yeah.
this game because it
It's
would be
just
like
like just like Dread, like
yeah, it
in
was
that
just like
regard.
Dread. And so that made me really happy because I certainly feel like they were maybe they weren't. Maybe this was very straightforward to them, but I kind of felt like that was a tightrope opportunity where they could have just lost me, and they committed to it, and I thought it was great.
Well, we're out of time, Matt.
Oh, I've got your 20 minutes spent, eh?
Well, it's beyond 20 minutes if the timer isn't lying to us, but I like to think of it, you know, it says 28 minutes, but to me it felt like an eternity. So it's so
So
good to be back.
does that mean your final review is if you like Ghost of Tsushima, then you'll like Prince of Persia?
I would say that the backtracking isn't as much worth it as possible. Like it's like the rewards aren't that great for a lot of the backtracking. But I would recommend this game. Like if you like Metroidvanias, I would definitely recognize this. Recommend this game. I don't think this game is going to sell you on Metroidvanias because it's pretty difficult and all that stuff. I still
Yeah,
think
that's a good
Metroid
point.
is the better game. It's more polished. It's um, the enemies are more fun. Like there's more interesting mechanics. But I do think that this game adds a lot to the genre and is enjoyable. Like it's hard. It's really hard to make a bad Metroidvania. I think you really have to do some really bad things. Like I don't think we've played one on this podcast that we haven't enjoyed at least a little.
Yeah, nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I mean
Yeah,
like Guacamelee. Like we've enjoyed like
Guacamelee so good.
Ori. We love them. Like and this one I love too. And Matt 100%ed it, so I'm pretty sure I know where you stand.
I thought it was great. I think it's a game everyone should play,
Yeah.
but especially if if my little just preamble there didn't sell you on the sense that it's like this is a more difficult. This is like this takes some of the aspects of some modern games, a more sophisticated combat system, more difficult control mechanic, some more difficult platforming puzzles. It's not quite in the vein of like say a Super Meat Boy where you're just killing yourself the whole time,
Yeah.
but there's some challenge to it. So it's not as simple as some other Metroidvanias. And if you're into that, then I don't think you can go wrong with this game. As far as like the level of polish and the things that I feel like they were able to achieve, no issues. It's like kind of a complaint about how spread out the fast travel points are. That's literally it. That's about the only knock
The
I can
kind of
come up with.
is. It
Yeah.
was frustrating enough for my playthrough, but if you play on an easier setting, you'll probably have a much better time and be able to go through things a little better. And or maybe you're Matt. Maybe you just enjoy going through the same fucking jumping puzzle 30 times after the
Or maybe you
novelty's
just,
done.
are more skilled and it doesn't take you 30 tries, it only takes you three,
Man,
and
I've
then,
told you I
you're
play.
fine.
I've told you which games I play. I'm pretty sure I'm a pretty skilled gamer. So thanks for that insight. But yeah, no, you're good too, Rusty. Rusty, you're good too.
Thanks, Kenny.
Hey, we should probably end the show. Yeah, that's your job.
Let's do it. This has been the Chips and Bits podcast, post extreme hiatus.
Wow, that actually made me a little, I don't know, happy. A little teary. You can't see it because
Uh,
the
it's
ice
good to
line.
see you again, Kenny. It's
Yeah,
good to not see, but reach the rest of you.
yeah. And 6 more episodes, and then we'll see what happens there. 5 more episodes, and then we'll see what happens there. But remember to review us on iTunes. It still helps even now if you haven't thought about it. Like, if you got to this point, you're already in our traps. So just fucking open iTunes. Just fucking open the podcast app and do it. It's not hard, but it's really hard to ask people to do it.
As we always say, you don't even have to click the 5 star. You can click four, three,
No, no,
two,
no.
or even one.
If you're gonna click those, I don't want it. Just
In
click the
fact,
five
click
star.
one.
Just
I
click five.
if
Just
that's what it takes, just click 1 star and then give us something funny. I'll take it.
Oh man, actually, I will take that. If you click 1 star and then write some incredibly shitty comment about us, I will find it very funny. Please send those in.
Yeah.
Mail those
Or
in.
send it to Kenny at no, I'll give it out.
You got well, yeah. I can give emails away. I'm not scared of you, internet. Man, it's so good to be met. It's
That's that good, eh?
it's so good to be
Kenny
back with
tongue
you,
tied for the first
Rusty.
time in his life. All right, everybody. We'll be back in a month, and we'll talk to you then.
I love you.
Love you too.
No, well, that was for them.
Oh, sorry.
Uh,
I'm Rusty.
I'm Kenny. This is Chips and Bits.